Recently I've started growing plants. The window faces the right way so they get quite a lot of sun, but it's winter, so I was looking to create a supplemental lighting system. As usual, I went to Reddit and found a great lighting guide which I've linked in the description. This is all you'll need to make a 10W LED light, which cost me about $11 total. You'll need a 12V phone charger that can output 1A or more. Just cut the plug off and expose the wires. There's also thermal paste and solder, a 10W LED and a heatsink. 10W is a little bit underpowered. Ideally for young plants you'd want 50 watts. The reason why I went with 10 watts is that it's the simplest system. High power LEDs tend to require voltage converters, which isn't a problem, but I wanted to make this as easy as possible. The holes in the heatsink are slightly wider than the LED holes, so I only used one screw, which didn't seem to be a problem. When putting on thermal paste, don't use too much. That's way too much, so I used a card to remove the excess and smoothed out the remainder. Here you can see the single screw attachment I used. I bent up the tab slightly to avoid the wires shorting on the heatsink. Then I attached the wires like so. Although it was a little tricky, I definitely recommend attaching the wires after attaching the LED to the heatsink. After a dodgy soldering job, I was ready to test out the light. This is the first test and I was quite surprised by how cool it ran. Like I said in my previous video, it started smoking after about 20 seconds without the heatsink, so I expected it to burn my hand, but it was just warm to touch. I wasn't sure what I wanted to use for a stand, so I just used a cardboard box covered in aluminium with a hole for the light. The hole's offset so I can create another hole if I want two lights with it, and it can also stand upright for larger plants. I've had it running for a few hours now and it seems to be running okay. The heatsinks get a little bit warm, but it's still cool enough to pick up and handle very easily. One thing I'd like to improve upon is creating plugs on the LED in the power supply so I can unplug the power supply if I want to use it in other things. I'll be looking into creating higher power LEDs in the future, but that's all for now, so thanks for watching.